All right, everybody, you have just tuned into the Steel City Blitz Steelers podcast presented by Deck Roofing Incorporated of South Florida. And we are back in this late May evening where hopefully everyone is safe and sound during our current pandemic as many states start to open up. And there are actually some scuttlebutt out there that certain officials will be starting to return to the Steelers' South Side facility very, very soon if they haven't already. And hopefully we can get this thing underway and going and have some sense of normalcy. Joining me tonight are the usual suspects, Ben and Ian. And I assume you gentlemen are both doing well and enjoying your quarantining wherever you may be. Ian?
Yeah, doing good. Sitting here drinking a beer, drinking a Duquesne Pilsner.
Okay.
Good old Steelworkers beer.
Very disappointed to hear that it's not an icy light mango, but we can't all be perfect.
Well, Ian, isn't that pronounced Duquesne?
No.
Are you sure? I think it is. Are you sure?
I'm 100% sure.
You might want to ask around. I'm just saying.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm sure it's Duquesne. I just
that's the way it's spelled, right?
Yeah.
It would be Duquesne. Actually, would be the local one. But actually, fun story. Duquesne purchased the old Rolling Rock Brewery facility out in Latrobe. So Duquesne beer is now brewed in Latrobe, PA.
Nice. The things I learn on this show, I'm telling you, geez, oh man. And standing by is someone who probably thinks we're completely insane, and that's totally okay. We are very excited to have with us for the first time tonight somebody that's jumped in with Steel City Blitz. She helps us online, social media, and quite frankly, I am now going to start referring to her as like the Mary Poppins of Steeler Nation, because she is so darn nice and friendly to everyone on Twitter. Everyone say hello.
On a rampage now.
Say hello to Ellie, and I'll get you her Twitter handle and all that other stuff. But Ellie, how are you tonight? And thanks for joining us.
I'm doing very well, thank you. I don't have an exciting beer choice with me though, so I feel a little bit left out on that one.
Do you have any kind of a beverage with you right now?
No, I do not.
Oh, okay.
I could raid these people's fridge. I could find
doing
one.
it sober.
Wow. Well, I mean, we don't want you to do anything that would be illegal, but taking a beverage, I would think, is not illegal. I mean, we all need beverages.
They said the fridge was free to be raided. So.
Well, there's not even a question then.
Exactly.
At some point during the show, you're going to have to go into the refrigerator. Yeah. But now I'm just going to get right to the obvious here, because our listeners are probably going, why does she sound so funny? Please, Ellie, give us a little background on where you are from.
I'm originally from the UK. I'm originally from a little town called Royal Leamington Spa, and I moved to Florida about 5 years ago now.
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't lost the accent yet. So yeah, I live in Florida now.
And where can you give us an idea in the UK of where that is located? Is it near a big city or?
It's actually in a location called the Midlands, which is very conveniently in the middle of England. My hometown actually has a tree that represents the very middle of the country. So right.
Unbelievable. Mm-hmm. Very cool.
Yeah.
And so did you come to the US then for work? What was your specific reason for coming here?
We always wanted to come here. We found work in order to move here. So always wanted to one day make the US our home. I moved out here with my mum and stepdad.
Okay.
So they live not too far from me now. We always wanted to make this our home. So we found something to invest in, like a business to invest in order to move here.
I gotcha. Okay. So they're part of kind of what you do there anyway, business wise?
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, we work together, the three of us.
And so let's get to why people are here and listening to this. Anyone that follows Ellie on Twitter knows that she is a huge Steelers fan, obviously, and a big Troy Polamalu fan, and we'll get to that in a minute. But when did you first kind of discover the Steelers? I mean, when did your love affair with them start?
I don't exactly remember the specific time that I found them. I just know that it would have been something to do with them playing the Cowboys, because I've always been aware of the NFL because my dad, my biological dad back in England, is a diehard Cowboys fan.
Oh boy.
So yes. So he raised me watching Cowboys games. But when I was younger, they're on at sort of 1 o'clock in the morning. So it's very difficult as a young kid to actually be able to watch any games. So not only was I plagued with only watching the Cowboys, I was plagued with watching them very, very late at night. So I didn't really get to watch a lot of games until I grew up. So probably like early teen years. And that's when I discovered the Steelers. That's when I think they played the Cowboys one time, or they were just on TV at one time, and I was just mesmerized. I loved the team from the first game I ever watched them play. I just fell in love.
I think you probably just described the way a lot of people fell in love with the Steelers. Yeah. Just something about the colors, the
colors.
I think so.
The logo on one side. I mean, it's just all that. I mean, I
gotta interject here. I think it's really it's more about hating Cowboys fans, and obviously you don't hate your father. But my father was a Cowboys fan, and that's kind of the same reason I became a Steelers fan. I was a little kid, and I pointed at the guys on TV, and I was like, "Hey, the guys in the black hats are going to win," and they did, and I've been a Steelers fan ever since. And these things happen.
Well, and now, Ian, you probably have a little different perspective because you were born into this, right?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, rumor has it that my dad wrapped me in a terrible towel when I was born. I don't have confirmation of that, but that's kind of been the story. But yeah, I've been a Steelers fan my whole life, and one of my first or most vivid memories, I remember watching them play. I'm pretty sure it was the Oilers, and it was like a late December game, probably late 80s, early 90s, and they needed to win to get in the playoffs, and they won. And that was kind of my first real vivid memory of like watching a Steeler game. But it was a game like they weren't supposed to win. The Oilers were really good that year, and then they went down to Houston and beat them. And I remember watching it like on our TV in our basement. So I've been born into this. Probably a lot of longtime listeners know my family's had season tickets since well before I was born. So it's in my blood. I did wrap my kids in terrible towels when they were born, though. So
we do have confirmation
man.
of that.
Good man, Ian. Did you take pictures of all of them so they knew, like initially, right out of the gate, this choice was made for you?
I definitely have pictures of the oldest one. I'm not sure about the other ones.
So Ellie, can you tell me what? So when you would watch the Steelers, and obviously in the UK, you're talking about it being obviously very, very late at night. What was your routine to be able to watch them? Did you have to go to a pub, something like that?
So around the time that I finally decided they were my team, we had what's called Sky Sports. So they would start to show more games. And around that time, I feel like every year they picked specific teams that were going to be played more frequently on British TV. And it was based on, I think, popularity. And the Steelers, unfortunately, were not always a very popular team in the UK. They have a lot of New England fans, Dolphins fans, a lot of Raiders fans as well. Yeah, huge Raiders fans over in the UK. So it was not only did I pick the exact opposite team that my dad would want me to pick, but then I went and picked a team that never really played on TV. So what I used to do was I used to get Steelers radio on, and I would sync it up to, I don't know if you've ever used it, I can't remember if it's the Steelers website or the NFL website, used to provide a little graphic that would use the player's head and it would show you the direction in which the player was moving, and it would give you a play-by-play of each movement that was happening on the field.
Yeah.
I used to sit and watch that and have Steelers radio on in my headphones on my laptop for 2.5, 3 hours. That would be how I would watch the game. And then when I started to get my stepdad involved, he would get up his laptop and we would put up NFL rules for dummies on Wikipedia. And between breaks, we would go through and learn as much as possible about the different rules so that we were as informed as possible so we could actually enjoy the game. That's how I taught myself how to watch football, I guess you could say.
Well, I think it's great. I mean, in this country, and I know Ben doesn't want to talk about it, but, Premier League soccer is becoming very, very big here. And I think people probably go through the same thing here where they try to learn the rules and the norms and things like that, too. So it's just kind of the opposite for you doing it here.
Yeah.
I go to soccer games. Buddy.
I'm
not a
yeah.
Oh, okay. The Portland Timbers. But I'm MLS. I'm just, I'm not a Liverpool fan like you two are.
No.
You're a Liverpool fan?
They both are. They're lying. No. They're lying. They are.
So, by the way, who would your Premier League team be, being from the Midlands? Is that like Middlesbrough or something like that?
No, I actually am a London team, Tottenham Hotspurs.
Oh, wow. Really?
Oh, this is great. This is great. Mark's son likes Chelsea and they're big rivals. This is awesome.
My son's a diehard Chelsea fan. His whole bedroom is royal blue Chelsea. And oh, man.
Sorry.
Well, I know. We'll have to talk about that another time. For the
record, I'm the worst kind of soccer fan. I'm the worst kind of soccer fan because I have no team. So I just make fun of everybody else's teams. So... I'm trying to get him to like Newcastle because aren't there fans called like the Toon Squad or something? And I think he'd be perfect for that. Yeah. It just seems they just got purchased by someone that has like more money than anyone else in the Premier League, so they might be relevant again.
But you never know. Ellie, why the love affair with Troy Polamalu?
Here we go.
We all have our favorite players. Don't get me wrong, and he's certainly one of ours.
Yeah.
But your level of, I told you that the show could last 43 minutes, and you immediately were like, yes, 43. That is a true level crazy of fandom. So go back to the beginning of the love affair with Troy.
I think he was just that player that every time the Steelers played, he had something to do with the game. He was always prevalent in every single game that I was watching. And I think you sort of fell in love naturally because of that. And then I started to learn about him as a person. And I think I just found... I really tell people like he's genuinely like a hero of mine. He's not just my favorite football player. I think he's such a genuinely wonderful person, and it's just impossible not to like him. So the love affair with my like extreme fanness and fandom of his is born from that, him just also being a really awesome person. And I think as well, when I was starting to watch the Steelers, the first thing you learn is your division rivals. When you pick a team, the first thing you should learn about is your division rivals.
Yep.
And no one schooled division rivals like Troy Polamalu. He owns them. I mean, I don't know how the Browns ever faced him and didn't feel physically ill. I don't know how Joe Flacco could speak to the man after some of the things he's done to him. And that was the thing that just like, I loved that. I was like, these are the people I'm supposed to hate, and he makes it impossible for them to do their job. He is the best. So I think that's where it comes from as well.
That's awesome. Guys, jump in. I had a question and I totally forgot what I was going to say. Really? Ben or Ian? Yeah, I know. I do that once in a while.
Well, I'm glad to know that you embraced hatred for the Baltimore Ravens, because I mean, basically that's pretty much the duty of all Steelers fans. But since we're talking about this, I understand the annoyance with Browns fans, but do you even take the Browns as a team seriously, as a rival seriously?
To me, that is a modern day rival, if you want to call it that, and it's based solely, in my opinion, on fan versus fan reaction. The Ravens is game versus game rivalry. It's a historic, I actually have a respect for the Ravens because I hate them so much as a team.
Right?
I don't know if that makes any sense.
No, it makes perfect sense. I agree. 100%.
Yeah.
Well said.
Yeah, so
I have no respect for the Browns.
Right. The Browns, the reason we have issue with the Browns is because of other Browns fans. They are the worst on the internet ever.
They're the worst in real life too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could imagine. Actually, I could imagine that. But Ravens, you hate them because they have beaten us and they have given us a run for our money a few times. So you have to kind of respect their game a little bit.
Me personally, go ahead, Ian.
I was going to say, I agree. Ellie's absolutely right about the Ravens being the real rivalry because the Ravens are the old Browns too. Let's not forget that all the hatred from the old Browns kind of got passed on to Baltimore. Yep. And her point about being essentially equals is right, that a real rivalry is one where, both teams actually win, both teams knock each other out of the playoffs, that you build up that hatred for other people because they ended your good seasons. We ended Ravens' good seasons multiple times in the playoffs, once in the AFC Championship game, with Troy obviously having the interception, the other one in 2010 where we were down, I think it was like 21-3 at halftime or something like that. We were down by a lot at halftime to them and stormed back and beat them in the second half. Might have been 21-10. Either way.
That was when Ben broke his nose.
That wasn't that game. That was that year, though. The game I was thinking of was the divisional playoff game before we played the Jets, that we were down big right before halftime. The Ravens got up on us, then we came back. At any rate, we said this on the podcast last week too, but Browns fans in particular care more about the Steelers losing than they do about their own team winning, and I think that's really all you need to know about the mental state of Cleveland.
It's true.
I would agree. Yeah.
Ellie, when you and I know you watched this, but did you get goosebumps? Did you shed a tear? What was it like when you saw Troy Polamalu standing there with his sons being told he was going into the Hall of Fame?
So I did actually post my reaction, but I deleted it because somebody private messaged me and said, "Get a grip."
You're kidding.
No, I'm being serious. Somebody was like, "You need to calm down. That's ridiculous." Because I was very emotional. And the reason I was emotional was because I believe Alan was also in line, and it was like his 5th time going to try and become a Hall of Famer. And I was so worried that this was going to happen to Troy. And I was getting nervous, and people were getting in my head saying, "Oh, it's not looking good, we haven't heard anything." And I was like, stop it, like I can't handle that. So when we found out, which so deserving in the first place, I truly would be still talking to this day about how that was an absolute snub if he wasn't a first ballot Hall of Famer. And when it came out, I was very, very emotional. I think people think that I'm kind of crazy, and maybe I am, but when someone, he truly is like my sports hero, and this is the greatest honor that your sporting hero could ever be given. So I felt in that moment that I was a little justified to shed maybe a few tears.
And I don't think there's a damn thing wrong with that. I think we all have our favorites, and I mean, obviously we root for anybody in the black and gold, but it's only natural to have those favorites, and when they do reach the ultimate like that, you think about all the time, the money, everything you've invested to watch them, to be a part of them, and I mean, I think it's great, and whoever said you needed to get a grip, they need to get a grip. They don't know what they're talking about.
I think one of the other reasons that I talk about him a lot on social media, and I post a lot about his plays and his stats, we're coming up on a new era of NFL fans, a new era of Steelers fans who have never seen Troy play, some of them. And I guess now I'm getting to that point where I'm thinking, gosh, some people may forget about him. Not that people would, but do you know what I mean? As in, they've never seen him play. They've never witnessed him jumping over that line of scrimmage and knocking someone down and timing it. They've never seen that from him, because this is after he was before their time. And I almost feel a little bit like, sometimes I think I feel a little bit of a compulsion to remind people that he was so awesome and he is one of the greats. And I want people that join Steeler Nation to have a healthy appreciation for him. I think that's another reason why I do talk about him a lot.
Well, no, I think it's really well said. And, Ben and I are older, whereas Ian not quite as. But Ben, who do you remember, kind of walking away from the Steelers that kind of, hit you when you were younger?
Elsie Greenwood.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that was the first one where it was like, wow, the people that I watched as a little kid when I was falling in love with the Steelers retiring. I mean, me and Joe had retired at that point. Lynn Swann had long since retired. It was getting to the end for Stallworth. All the 70s Steelers were about done.
Yeah.
And Elsie Greenwood walking away, and not, he kind of had a limp as he was walking off the field. I'm not exaggerating. He kind of did. And it was kind of like, wow, your heroes are getting older, and you suddenly realize that, they're mortal.
Yeah.
That they're human beings, that they're not supermen like you thought, because when you're a little kid and you see these things going on, I mean, I thought Jack Lambert was a god. I wanted to be that guy, And all that happens. It affects you differently at that age.
Ian, Ian, you're a little younger, but I mean, have you had that moment for you where somebody's left the Steelers?
For Ian, it was Tim Worley.
I mean, my young childhood was scarred with memories of Bubby Brister and Neil O'Donnell. And I mean, every year, this is a true story, actually. Every year when I was a kid and went to see Santa Claus, I would ask him to bring the Steelers a quarterback. And he did not deliver for me until I was in college and they drafted Ben Roethlisberger.
Yep.
So that is a great story.
Oh, it's true, though. I'll bet. I mean,
I have no doubt.
It was 24 years, man. It was awful.
It was terrible.
And to you Steelers fans that are listening right now and have never seen a quarterback besides Ben and are just used to this level of greatness. Yeah, when Ben retires and we enter the quarterback wasteland again and you experience what we did, it's going to be rough.
I hope we don't experience it, but
eventually it's going to happen.
It is. It's
So to answer your question, Mark, the one that really got me was Hines Ward. And I was older, when he retired. I was after I was in college and stuff, but that was kind of the end of the era. I kind of felt like when Hines retired, because Troy and Hines went out around the same time. I think Hines might have played 1 year longer than Troy, but I mean, Hines got drafted in '98, so he was kind of the first building block of a lot of those Super Bowl teams, and even the teams that made the AFC Championship game in 2001. That was kind of the one that got me. That he was a Steeler for life, and he had set the record, or not set the record, but he had blown away all the receiving records, got his 1,000th catch, all that, and and the way he went out too that was the playoff game they lost in Denver that we won't talk about. So, but that was kind of the one that got me. Was it was kind of like, does Hines have anything left? I don't know, and he kind of So that was what got me.
Ellie, have you been to a Steelers game?
I have not been to a Steelers game.
Oh my God!
No.
Is it in the future? Are you now? They do play in Jacksonville, which is a drive.
I'm going to the Jacksonville game.
Okay.
Definitely.
Have you ever been to Jacksonville yet, Ellie?
I have. So I have actually been to. I've been to a preseason game at Jacksonville.
Oh, okay.
And what did you think of Jacksonville, the city?
I don't remember much about it, and because I live in this state, I'm hesitating to say anything negative.
That won't stop Ben.
No, it won't. Ben lived there for 2 years, and Jacksonville is a shithole. So we'll just say it. I'm sorry. I know there are a lot of Steelers fans in Jacksonville, and I apologize. I'm not a fan. I was thinking, Miami Vice and palm trees and girls in bikinis, and
that's Miami.
It's South Georgia. That is Jacksonville. And,
well, yes, that's true.
And it's just not my cup of tea. So fuck that. Never going back.
Anyway, so do you? I'm going to assume you have a desire at some point to get up to Heinz Field for a game.
This season would be. I've set aside some savings in order. I've got my Heinz Field fund, so I would like to use that this season. But with everything that's going on, it's a bit risky. So I'm holding off a little bit right now. But if we get some sort of green light, any kind of green light that gives any indication that we will be allowed in those stands, I will be at one of those games. I will be there.
Right on.
Well, I mean, I can't. I mean, I remember being at my first Steelers game. I can't even imagine what it would be like for you. But oh geez, what was I gonna? I know. Here's where I'm going. Have you paid any attention? And I know Ben wants to talk about this. To Ben Roethlisberger's haircut situation. Have you seen any of that?
Oh my God.
Ellie, have you followed
that? Such a nothing burger.
I mean, who hasn't at this point?
I know. I was baiting Ben a little bit there. Now, obviously, we talked about Troy, but are you excited that Ben has started throwing to his guys and has cut his beard and all that? I mean, are you pretty excited for that?
I'm so excited, and I'm really excited to see what he can do this season. I've kind of said it before to other people. I do feel a little bit that this season comes with sort of an asterisk of if the elbow holds, if he can make it all the way to Tampa, if he can do this, if he can do that. And this is a first for us, well, certainly in a long time, where you're kind of taking a deep breath. You're watching that video of him throwing and watching that elbow like a hawk. And this is the first for me anyway that I can remember where I've been really nervous about a serious injury playing such a huge role in a season before the season has even begun. Because we know it played a big role last season, but that was the aftermath of the injury. We don't know anything. We're going in completely blind. We won't know until that first game where he throws that first pass what we're working with.
So do you think, just in your opinion, do you think he should play much in the preseason? Or do you think they should just play it safe and wait till the regular season?
I think he should play. I think he should play some of the preseason, if anything, to loosen up anything that could be, a little rusty, dust off the cobwebs. I think he should play. But I also think that Mason Rudolph should play in the preseason and get back out there and get to work just like any second string quarterback should. So I would probably say more Mason, but definitely Ben should be included.
I like that analysis. I'm feeling the same. I think he should play a little bit more in the preseason this year. I know it's risky, but I doubt he will. I think Tomlin will probably do as he's always done with Ben, and will run that risk of that somewhat slow start that he has. But
I think the opposite. I think that Tomlin will let him kind of pace it based upon what he thinks, and I think that Ben will probably demand to play more than maybe he should. That Tomlin will have to pull the reins back a little bit because Ben always wants to play.
I could see that. Yeah, I could see that too, actually.
And he's always been a good healer. I'm not particularly concerned about that part of it. I expect a pretty good year out of Ben this season. I really do. And here's the thing, and I actually am putting this out for the listeners. if Ben is even a top 15 quarterback this season, he will be by magnitudes of 2 or 3 better than the quarterback play we saw last year from the Steelers. I'm not exaggerating when I say this.
No,
the quarterbacks were terrible. Terrible. There were receivers running open in the field regularly on every play and missed because our quarterbacks either can't read defenses and are missing open receivers, or were running for their lives because they figured out how to scheme against the Steelers' offense, and we're just sending either blitzes or run blitzes on almost every down against Duck. And he's at that level and also was a rookie. So it's just when you take into consideration the difference in the quality of play between if Ben is, like I said, even just a middling quarterback, a middling starter this year, which I expect him to be better. But even if he's just middling with that offensive group and that defense on the other side, if he can stay healthy for 14 games, they're a 10-game winner. Easily.
I agree. I have no argument with that. None. I did want to. I didn't give a chance to Ian, who's right there in the Steel City, to comment about Beardgate, and I meant to do that. Ian, can you give us your thoughts about Beardgate in PA there?
You want me to do it in a Pittsburgh accent?
Oh, of course. Why wouldn't we?
All right. Well, so just to put this in perspective, Ben got his haircut, and in Pennsylvania we currently have this stay-at-home order that barbershops are supposed to be closed. So the governor got asked about it, and the governor said that he shouldn't have done it. So the Pittsburgh take is Tom Wolfe is a typical Eastern PA politician who never lettered in shit.
And he's an Eagles fan, right?
I'm sure he is. He came from York County. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. There you go. Yeah.
Which makes him an asshole, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Ian, right?
Yeah, I mean, Eagles fans are the same people that are Flyers fans. They threw snowballs at Santa Claus. They threw batteries at people. Yeah, Eagles fans are assholes. That's
good. That's all I wanted you to say. Thank you.
By the way, Ellie, don't go to a Steelers game in Philadelphia if you catch our drift. Yeah.
Okay,
just don't go to Philadelphia in general.
I'm going to the Eagles game this year in Pittsburgh.
Well, different story.
After the way they responded to their to winning the Super Bowl, and they basically trashed their own city, I was like, okay, not ideal. So
not ideal. Yeah, that's a really polite way of putting it, Ellie.
Yeah. We're winding down here on the Steel City Blitz Steelers podcast. Reminder: we're presented by Deck Roofing Incorporated of Broward County and the Southern Palm Beach counties. Whether it's commercial, residential, multifamily, or condos, contact Deck Roofing today by visiting deckroofing.com. Ellie, I did want to ask you about social media because we all know, all of us and everybody listening, Twitter can be just absolutely cutthroat, awful, horrible at times. You seem to rise above that. I'm not saying that you don't get frustrated like all of us do, but I just see a lot of positivity. How do you maintain that with as often as you're on and all the crap that's out there?
I think what it is you have to make a concerted choice not to feed into people who want to ruin your day. And at the start, when I started to get more followers, I started to get really nervous because I thought, okay, with all the positive people, there are going to be people that will intentionally just want to say something hurtful. And there are people who do it every week. I get some DMs that make me cringe, and I think you have to make the choice to let it bother you. And I'm not going to say that sometimes it doesn't bother me, because sometimes it does, and no one's perfect. And there are days where I just think, well, that totally ruined my mood for the day, but I won't let them know. And that's that little piece of like power, I suppose, that you can take back from people that are just being intentionally hurtful. That's that little bit of power that you can take back. But there are definitely days where I will stand up for myself and I will speak up. But I try not to make it a habit of doing it too much because they enjoy it and I don't want to give them the satisfaction. And, you know, if someone is going to say something horrible about me and me personally, not just my opinions, but anything about me, I think it says more about them than it says anything about me anyway. So I just try to rise above it. And for every negative comment I get like, honestly, 50 really nice comments. So they so outweigh the bad people that I almost don't even see them. And yeah, and they don't bother me at all. I've had people that have said things to me like, you are the worst Twitter, you're the worst Steelers fan page or Steelers fan I've ever come across. And I said, thank you so much for your feedback, and I will definitely take that into considetion. And he blocked me. Well, what are you going to do? You know,
tell them to go fuck themselves. I often get nervous on Twitter about people saying mean things to me too. And I mean, Ian and Mark have often referred to me as Mr. Congeniality on Twitter.
Very much so. Very much so.
Yeah. By the way, again, just a reminder, any hate mail you guys want to send to Steel Dad's DMs.
Yes, please. Yeah, my DMs are always open for
it. It will not be the first time or the last.
No, it will not. Wow. Yeah, Ellie, I'll tell you this. I have not told you this before, and you saw a little bit of this on your timeline, but when you kind of agreed to join us at Steel City Blitz and stuff, I had about 4 or 5 DMs from people just saying, she is the sweetest person. I'm so glad you guys have her. So, you know, I just wanted to share that with you. I hadn't told you that before. I was kind of saving it for now. But yeah, I think that's really cool. I think it says, speaks volumes of you and certainly of the fact that we have 4 or 5 nice people out there who like us.
Yeah, nice. That's more than the positive DMs I get, honestly.
I can't even imagine some of the DMs that you guys get out there. Oh my God.
Your DMs aren't open, Ellie. Are your DMs? Your DMs aren't open, right?
They are open, but they're open because, like I said, for every bad one I get so many nice ones that I'm not going to allow the bad ones to spoil it.
Okay, that's cool.
I will 100% say I would rather you came to my DMs and told me that I was the worst human being you've ever met and you hate my guts than you came into my DMs and sent me an image I didn't ask for and I won't preface what kind.
Yeah, no, I totally understand that.
Yeah. Or if you sent me some creepy message and you've got a wife or significant other, which makes me actually physically want to throw up. Please don't do that. I'd rather you told me you hate me. I actually encourage the hate mail over the creep mail, please.
Wow. Well said.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Ian, did you have any final questions or thoughts for Ellie before we get going here tonight?
Not a question, but just a quick thought. When Ellie was talking about sort of the unknowns with Ben Roethlisberger, it kind of made me think back to 2009. After he had the motorcycle injury. That was 2006.
That was after 05.
That was after 05. Yeah, that was summer of 06. That we really didn't know how he was going to be coming back, you know, that fall of 2006.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, we just won the Super Bowl. We were riding high, and then he had that motorcycle injury. So it is, in a way, similar to that, but in a way totally different because this is obviously a football injury, and that was just a total body injury. I mean, he broke bones all over his body in that. So, and he was
he's older too now.
Absolutely, yes, that's the perfect comment. That, you know, young bodies heal a lot faster than old ones do. So, it's we don't know what it's going to be like. And you know, we like Ben was talking about earlier, we kind of got a sense for what the future could be like, you know, what life without Ben Roethlisberger is, and it makes you appreciate him even more. So let's all, you know, if this year's his last year, if next year's his last year, enjoy these last few years with him because you never know what we're going to get. But Ben's absolutely right about the guys we had last year missing open guys. I mean, there's been people posting highlights on Twitter of last season, and every highlight I'm like, oh, that guy was open for a bigger gain. Oh, that guy, Ben would have hit that guy. Ben would have done that. And beyond that, just being able to make checks and audibles at the line. I mean, we pretty much know that Duck was just running whatever play the offensive coordinator called. Yep. Oftentimes it was running right into the teeth of the defense because he couldn't audible. So just being able to make those switches will go a long way.
I've seen some of those highlights as well, and people will probably hate me for saying it, but if you do watch highlights and see open players during those games, overwhelmingly Juju is one of those open players.
Yep.
And I think
yes.
And why should anyone hate you for saying that? That is ridiculous. People are such fucking douchebags. Sorry. If you honestly think he had a bad season, you don't know shit about football. Yes, I just said that.
And that'll be on next week's episode, ladies and gentlemen. Ellie,
Mark Madden sucks, so I got to get that in there.
What does?
I said Mark Madden sucks, so I got to get
there
that
we go.
in
Now we've come full circle.
Yeah, but that just makes Madden happy. He likes when people say he sucks.
Yeah.
He's an asshole on the radio.
Well,
at least according to Chrissy. She says he's a sweetheart in real life.
Right. Yeah, we got to have Chrissy back.
Well, he's an asshole on Twitter too, but you know.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, he plays an asshole on the radio and on Twitter and on TV. That's his persona.
It's like a wrestler.
The thing that's sad about it is it plays really well in Pittsburgh. Right?
Oh,
we all need to admit that. It plays very well. He's popular as hell.
Well, as much as I'd like to keep talking about him, Ellie, thank you very, very much for joining us tonight on the show. And
Ian, you didn't get any Michigan digs in tonight.
Oh,
no,
I didn't. You're right.
Yeah. And again, for next week. He can save it for next week.
Well, they had that big dam break in the state, and all those people were homeless. So I felt kind of bad, but I mean, I guess Michigan's used to getting run over.
All right, that was weak. I mean, come on. Anyway, Ellie now.
I did notice earlier this week that when Mark made an avatar of himself and put it up on Slack, that it was all in khaki. So there was that. He pointed that out.
It was gold.
He pointed that out. It was beautiful.
Anyway, Ellie, thank you so much for joining us tonight, and we'll let you go back to dog sitting. You were absolutely perfect, and we look forward to having you on again. And well, although the way these two behave, I could understand why you wouldn't. In any case, that's going to do it.
Pick both of us off and just do the show with you.
Honestly, this is exactly how you behave in the Slack conversation. So none of this surprises me.
Yeah, perfect. And you know what? I'm ending it right there because that sums it up perfectly.
People are always surprised when they meet me in real life that I'm just a little bit worse than I am on Twitter.
And that's all for tonight on the Steel City Blitz Steelers podcast presented by Deck Roofing. We'll see you next week. And don't forget, hey, go Steelers.
Ravens suck.
Ravens suck.